Happy Bank Holiday Monday, everyone. It's Holly from the West Ham Network, and today we are going to be doing ratings from last night's incredible performance against Man United. We've got some really high ratings coming up because everyone put in a proper shift last night. It was the performance that we've desperately been needing, and you could see what it meant to the fans. Everyone was delighted after the game. I barely saw anyone leave before full time, which also felt like extra time went on forever. Moyes was reluctant to say that we're safe, but I think that we all know that having that 7-point gap between us and the relegation zone means that mathematically things are looking very good. So there's so many positives to take from last night's performance. Again, it's the kind of performances that we have been wanting to see the whole season. And hopefully we can continue to see for the rest of the season because there is a lot to look forward to. But most importantly, we have got everything to play for. We have got a huge end to the season. And now we can focus a little bit on Conference League. But before we do that, let's have a look at the player ratings. So we're going to be starting with Mr. Lucas Fabianski. This is my first time using StreamYard properly, so this is very exciting. All the bells and whistles I've had a run through from Anton this morning. Fabianski, so for me, Fabianski did everything that he needed to. He made a few really big saves to actually keep a clean sheet towards the end of the game. And as much as it's difficult in terms of wanting either him or Areola, performances like last night do make it very difficult, I think, for Fabianski to be dropped, because one of the reasons that Areola has never had a look in potentially in the league is that he never seems to make one massive glaring mistake when it matters most. And last night, again, we saw that. He put in a pretty decent performance, didn't really make any mistakes. So for me, it is a 9. So yeah, again, I think he did everything that he needed to. Good performance in my eyes compared to his usual performances. And then we're going to move on to Thilo Kehrer. So we know Kehrer has had a really difficult start at the club, but last night, I think we saw Kehrer's best performance in a West Ham shirt. He managed to not only keep up with Rashford's pace, he basically took him out of the game, which I was incredibly scared about before the game. The thought of Rashford on Kehrer was quite a frightening prospect. However, he made great crunching tackles. Positionally, he was great, which has probably been my main criticism of him this season. He did everything that he needed to stop them getting through, and matching someone like Rashford for pace is not easy. Absolutely faultless performance, if I'm honest. So for me, he deserves a 9. You're probably getting the theme by now that there's some high ratings this game. So again, we have needed a defender with Agaird's pace for such a long time. And it's just beautiful to see someone playing at centre-back that can track back. His tackling is obviously brilliant. I know he's made a few mistakes in recent games. However, it was great last night. It was just wonderful to watch. And I do still feel confident with him, whether it's one-on-one. Keeping up with likes of Rashford again is not easy, and he did it really well. But his passing out from the back is something that we have needed massively, because it just allows us to go on the break so quickly from being attacked. So for me, Gerd is getting an 8. Then moving on to Ogbonna, again, another solid performance. He was great in the air. He did everything he needed to do to clean up the mess. So for me, Ogbonna is getting a 8. Again, not much to say. However, did a great job. Cresswell, now moving on to the Cress. So he was doing some really great overlaps with Benny. The way they were doing that made so much space for us to attack. And most of our threat was down this side because of that. I think Cresswell did everything that he needed to, essentially. Would have liked to have seen a few more balls into the box. But the way that they created space and the threat they brought down that side against a very good United side, I'm giving Cresswell an 8. So up next we have Thomas Souček himself. He's another player that's had a lot of stick this season. Last night, I actually thought he did everything that he needed to. He put his head on the line, literally, for us, as he tends to do. He was offside for that header. It was a good header if it had been onside, but it was definitely one of his better games, and I think he did what he needed to do. I can't really pinpoint any mistakes that I can remember him making. The ones that you have seen him typically make in recent games where you're like, oh, why has he done that? So again, for me, a great performance. I'm really happy to see Souček performing because I love the guy. I want him to do well so badly. So for me, it's going to be an 8. Moving on to Declan Rice, the captain. He seems to be getting better and better every single week, doesn't he? Just when we didn't think it was possible for him to improve, he seems to just step it up another level. He's winning possession back for fun. Like he's always been good at making a crunching tackle. However, he seems to be winning possession back and then playing forwards in a completely new way that he's not been doing other than the last few weeks. And he's creating space for the attack, the way that he's driving the runs, and he had a few chances to score. Basically, a faultless performance. The way he's driving at the opposition and actually trying to attack and score really is adding something to his game. And we have previously seen him try to shoot and kind of send it into row Z, but that's not really happening. There's a lot more going in across the floor from him now, which I'm liking to see. And for anyone that didn't see it, there was actually a video of him giving his shirt to a kid after the game. And things like that just make you remember that he's a great person on and off the pitch. Incredible captain. Great example. I'd like to think that he's carrying on from what Nobe set out of like a good example of how to be a good person and a good captain and just live and breathe for the club. So for me, Declan Rice is going to get a 9. It was just faultless performance. I can't really complain about anything with that. Lucas Paqueta, where to begin? I've probably been a little bit of a critic for him, the way he was losing the ball earlier on in the season, because we weren't able to get possession easily enough that we could waste or be wasteful when we had the ball. However, this man is getting better and better and better every single week. We knew what we had when we signed him, this flair player that could do really exciting things. But when we signed him, I didn't expect him to have the strength that he seems to be showing. I know he does go down at times, but shoulder to shoulder, he seems incredibly strong, and that's really adding something to his game. When you combine that with his ability to make a pass, make a run, we've got an absolute baller on our hands, haven't we? The flicks with the ball that he's pulling off are beautiful to see. And the way that he's bringing creativity back into our game that we've not seen since last season is worth us occasionally losing possession because the flick doesn't pay off. So I'm really, really happy. And he's definitely becoming the player that we all hope that he would. So for me, Lucas Paqueta is getting an 8, but I'm excited to see what he can do. Really positive signs for next season. If players like this can find their feet and then we go again stronger next season, we have a lot to look forward to. Jarrod Bowen. So for me, Jarrod is going to get a 7. It's actually the lowest rating in the whole team for me. He was essentially marked out of the game. He had a player on his heels for the full 90 minutes and he couldn't really get rid of them to do much. When he did get the ball, they were on him. He had like a millisecond to get a touch because they were so close to him. It's still not a terrible performance, but I just think he struggled, and the way that Man United set up made it very difficult for him to play. Luckily, on the other wing, we managed to actually find that space and he was still able to run into the middle. So it did still work. So unfortunately for Bowen, it is a 7 for me. Saeed Benrahma, I'm buzzing for him to have got that goal. His footwork makes it so difficult for defenders. The way, if you actually rewatch that goal, which I have done about 10 times, the way that he opens up his body and he whips the ball around the defender meant that De Gea had basically no reaction time, but also he didn't have time to settle and go the right way. If you watch De Gea, he's preparing to go the opposite direction and his feet are both off the ground because he knows that he doesn't know which way Benrahma's going. And the way that he did that was what gave it the time for essentially De Gea to fumble it because he didn't get down with enough time. And it was such an important goal. When you have a game like that, where VAR and decisions aren't going your way, one goal like that is all you need. And that's all we had. And that's all we needed. So yeah, as I said earlier as well, his 1-2s with Cresswell made it really hard for United. And the overlaps just make it so difficult for them. And they seem to always work for us to get the ball into the box. So really happy with that. Great from Benrahma. We are going to give Saeed an 8. Great performance. And then last but not least, Antonio. So Antonio, he played really well. He was really unlucky to not get that goal, actually. I still think that foul on David De Gea was one of the weakest things that I've ever seen. Antonio did well to put the ball in the back of the net. He basically bullied Lindelof all night, and you could see that Lindelof did not want to battle with him. Again, he did everything that we needed him to do. I'm still hurt about De Gea going down like that and that goal being disallowed. But what can you do? It's an 8. Great work from Antonio. So basically, we have got a lot to look forward to, and I think there's so many positives to take from last night's game. high ratings across the board, incredible team performance. Everyone did well, but when one person made a mistake, you could see that someone else was ready to drop in, recover the ball for them, and work as a team, which is, again, something that we've been struggling with where we've made these signings where perhaps we haven't gelled as a team and people are trying to play as individuals. And this was against a difficult United team. So it's everything that we could have wished for. Even when decisions weren't going our way, we dug in, we kept a clean sheet, which is massive, and we got the 1-0 win. Of course, being on 37 points now means we're 7 points clear of the relegation zone. So it gives us that little bit of space to actually focus on the Conference League. AZ Alkmaar on Thursday and then Brentford away. So things are looking positive. Hopefully we can get a nice strong end to the season. And we're starting to look really good at home, which again is another thing that we have needed. Things are looking more positive. Hopefully we can take this into next season as well. Let us know in the comments what you think of the players. I want to hear who are your standout players. For me, I think the biggest surprise was Kera, and I'm actually really, really, really happy about that because I've been willing him to be good. I know that inside there's a good player in there, but it's just not quite worked out. And I think we might be starting to see the beginning of him finding his feet. Great performance from him. Great performance from the whole team. We go again. Come on, you Irons.